Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today is Wednesday, October 26th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. I've been saying it that way for a while, haven't I? Good morning to Stacy, Gad, Liz, Frank, Jenny, Nathan, Steven, and all the rest of you, whether you're watching now or later. I appreciate you coming by. Well, it's quite the sentiment to kick us off. Stephen says, good morning. I wish you learning, health, and curiosity. Yeah. Those are good things to be wished, aren't they? How are you? How was Tuesday? What are you looking forward to today, Wednesday? I took a half day. I actually had a considering the number of hours I put in, a fairly productive day. Stacy and I crushed through a bunch of stuff we had to do. And by Stacy and I mean mostly Stacy with regard to the award stuff. So that is in process. Just a reminder, if anybody was on the fence about sticking around for dinner after Free Training Day Northeast, if you were coming to Free Training Day Northeast, we will be incorporating the award ceremony for these 4 awards into dinner. And if you weren't coming to Free Training Day Northeast at all, maybe this is yet another reason for you to attend. It's going to be great. So we worked on that. I worked on painting this wall in my house some more. It's getting there. I've learned a lot about painting. I am not a painting expert, but I'm getting better. It seems to be that the more time you spend on taping, the better life goes. And don't use cheap painter's tape. I feel like those are the 2 things I've learned. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, Brian. I think Brian's pulling from, was that a Progressive commercial? The way the camel said hump day? I think that's what you're referencing there. Good morning, Dennis. Dennis says all the cool kids are enjoying their first cup right here, right now. Woo. Woo. Hey, it kind of happened. Woo. So after, it's probably like 12:30, I watched a little bit of TV. I painted, cleaned up around the house a little bit, went for a walk yesterday. Nice long walk. Felt great. And just kind of did some stuff around the house. It was nice to just kind of chill, have the windows open. That was insane. Had all the windows open because it was 70 degrees. It's almost November. Steven says, I want to be a cool kid. Dennis, teach me. Anybody who's met Stephen Watson knows he's already a cool kid. Kelly says, Dennis, hooray, I'm finally a cool kid. All right. Dennis has either had too little or too much coffee. You're pulling together so many things in this. Taping is paintings, John. I feel like Jenny is the only person who's going to understand what you might have meant. I kind of get it. Not really. Such a weird word. Did I do anything else yesterday? I don't think so. You know, I've been rewatching the Hunger Games movies. They're on Amazon Prime, in case you wanted to know. And first off, they're good movies. I read the books forever ago, and I enjoyed the books. It's rare that I read books anymore, but managed to get my hands on those and like them. But if I look at the combat in there, there's a lot of stuff that I think is realistic in the way people handle things, in the way people make mistakes, in the way people are so impulsive and it gets them killed. If you haven't watched those movies, first off, I think you should, because they're fun. But especially the first one, just the way combat happens, I think it's worth checking out. So my thoughts there. Taping his paintings, John. It's just so tense. Today is all about tasks. There are so many tasks stacked up. A bunch of things I got to do that I will do, and some of them involve things for you. Some of them involve things for the awards. I've been doing a decent job with email of late, keeping up on email. So I am hopeful. I think I'm going to take a run to Costco this evening. I haven't been for a few weeks. I think it's time. Gad says impulsiveness. The fight between Luke and Vader comes to mind. Kelly says, I actually liked the Divergent books better, not the movies. Usually, I think it's easy for most of the time we prefer the books, right? And I think it's two reasons. One, you're able to have detail in books it's harder to have in movies. The author can tell you what a character is thinking, whereas that's a lot harder to pull off in a movie. And it's also kind of tough to put a book into 90 minutes. So, and then you've also got the piece where you imagine what the character looks like. You see them in some way, and it's never the way you see them. The actor never looks the way you thought they would. I think the only, once in a while we get something fairly accurate in comic book movies, with pretty much the only real home run on that was Patrick Stewart playing Professor X. Looks exactly like him. It always has. Good morning, Mark. Tommy says, are some of you monitoring more than one chat? And on the first cup of coffee, I would need at least 3. Tommy says, Lord of the Rings was pretty close, but the books tend to be far better. TV series as well, like the Dresden Files. And Gat says, I actually prefer it if comic book movies are different from the comics. Yeah, see, I think that's an important point. When we have these ideas, and I'm actually going to pull something into martial arts from this notion that the representation of a book into a TV show or into a movie should be the same, I don't think always serves it. It's a different version of the story. And I think sometimes production will get too close. They try to get too true to the book. And of course, you with comic book movies, you have people who complain that, they change certain things. But let's face it, they're going to go see it anyway. It's kind of like forms. How many different martial arts styles have a version of Naihanchi or Teki Shodan, the form up against the wall? I believe all, maybe not all. I'm sure not all. Many. I have learned a version of that form in almost every school I've trained in. But they're different. And when you make forms, when you say, okay, this is this version of that form, this is this version of that form, you end up with people kind of arguing details or lineage or things like that. But then go and compare the ITF Taekwondo forms and the Shotokan forms. They are very similar. In fact, if you know both, you can see how they got from one to the other. But nobody ever argues about those. They are different enough that they come across as completely different things. And I think that is often a better way to go. Make something new out of the same parts instead of trying to recreate what's been done in the past. Kat says, if I know the storyline from the comics, why bother watching the movie? If you enjoy movies, same idea as rewatching a movie. Jenny says, I try to read the book before seeing the movie. It doesn't always work out that way, but the book is less enjoyable if I see the movie first because I can't play out the story in my own imagination. I see what Hollywood imagined. I understand that. Tommy says, sometimes that bombs. However, like Green Lantern and Green Hornet. Most times I agree. Netflix did some nice work. For those of you following the Marvel stuff, the most recent Thor movie is a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, make sure you watch it. But there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that's coming that we see in She-Hulk and that we see in that Thor movie, and I'm pumped. Some of the characters I enjoy are coming back. Kelly says, I have students getting ready to compete this weekend and have encouraged them to change the pattern to fit their abilities and body. Absolutely. I believe that the idea, I was raised with this, and I did not realize until I trained at some schools that this was not how everyone was encouraged. But I believe that a form, kara pomsai tol hyung, etc., it's like a song. No two people are ever going to sing it exactly the same way. And trying to do so, I think, is a disservice. It's a disservice to you and to the song. So to take liberties with it. In fact, if you think about music, how often does someone do a cover of an original, the song that is well known, and people are like, well, it's fine. It's not as good as the original. But what about when they make it completely different? That's when people say, oh, that's really interesting. That's really creative. Maybe I prefer the original, but I see what you've done there and I have a lot of respect for your efforts. I think that is a much better way to go. I'm acknowledging your comment, Liz. Dennis says, I like watching movies, which is why I rewatch Best of the Best fairly often. Well, we could make the argument that you don't actually like watching movies. Some kind of self-torture going on there. Jenny says, Charlie Cox was a great choice for Daredevil. I keep forgetting to look to see if his stunt double for Disney Plus will be the same guy from the Netflix series. Great stunt work. Completely agree. I think most of us can agree that the stick work in Daredevil was probably the best movie stick work that we've seen yet, right? Is there a movie that does Filipino stick work, Eskrima, Arnis, whatever you want to call it, better than the stuff in the Daredevil series? Pretty fantastic. I was bummed I really enjoyed those Marvel series. I think the Daredevil, Luke Cage, even Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, like that quartet, and then the Defenders series, those 5 series on Netflix, I thought were exceptionally well done. And I feel like the Marvel series on Disney Plus now are kind of hit or miss. Like I'm trying to get through Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's okay. It's fine. She-Hulk was fantastic. Um, WandaVision was amazing, so creative. But I feel like they're just trying to extend the universe and keep some of the characters, probably even the actors, working. And I can't help but watch Falcon, and I only ever see him as Papa Doc from 8 Mile. So there's that. And I've heard Stacy talk about this. The Woman King has some of the best sequences on martial arts training I've seen in ages. Amazeballs. Cannot wait to own it. And Dennis is agreeing the different versions. Sinatra's My Way versus Elvis My Way. So very different, both so incredibly good. Gad says, I feel that for decades, schools and teachers have tried to fit everyone's feet into the same shoe, forgetting that there are many sizes and needs. The form should form around you, not the other way. I think there's a path that should happen, and it should happen in forms and everything else. When you're starting off, you don't know anything. Okay, do these things and do them in this way. Because if you say do these things in whatever way you want, that can lead to some very poor habits, number one. But number two, and if you've been in any of the seminars that I've taught, you understand the value of boundaries, of parameters for people as they relate to any kind of free-form engagement. As we take away things, people become more confident because there's less option. There's less of a way to get something wrong. So, okay, do these moves in this way. Do this form in this way. Okay, you understand the form now as we've taught it to you. Time to start experimenting, playing with it, whatever verb you want to use. Kelly says, I couldn't get through Loki, tried several times. Yeah, that's an example of one. It was okay. Didn't really like it. Tommy says, Scarlet Witch with a heart. Yep. Okay. Frank's calling audible since we're having such a nice discussion this morning. I move that we move today's quotes to tomorrow. You're the boss. And we are a minority, I believe, but Dennis saying to Stacy, Iron Fist was surprisingly well done, and they did a great job with casting. I liked it. I thought it was well done. Was it as good as Daredevil? No, but it was still good. Oh, coffee. But none of them are as good as coffee. Maybe one day, as Whistlekick grows, and we have our production house, because I do want that. I think I've shared that before. I would love to have, the modern equivalent of, a Shaw Brothers production house, where we're just turning out stuff left and right, and it's just fun. It's not great. It's not winning any awards, but we give people an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet in film, in choreography, in stunt work, in production, editing, right? Like we get people who are not top notch. We give everybody an opportunity to move up, kind of like the minor leagues, and grab every script and book we can and turn them into movies. And how much fun would that be? I think that'd be great, but it'll be a little while. Jenny says, most of the casting on Iron Fist was great. Second season showed improvement, but I guess it was a little too late. I still enjoyed that show. Well, I think part of it was Disney, because remember, Daredevil was very well received, even season 3, and Defenders was well received, and they were rushing on some things. I think they were rushing Iron Fist because they had a timeline that involved Defenders. So, discussion in the chat about how good the Marvel movies are. I struggle with the Avengers movies, especially the most recent ones, most recent 2, because there are just too many characters. And anytime you have one of those broad ensemble films, you don't get enough time with any of the characters, and it's really hard to see an arc for any of them. They don't change, they don't grow, they're just there, and that's not as fun for me. But they didn't ask me. Also, some ridiculously multi-billion-dollar global gross. So what do I know? Has anybody seen Black Adam? I want to go check that out, but I'm reading very mixed reviews. It seems that possibly the positive reviews are coming from people who just want to support The Rock's effort. That is a scenario that might be occurring. We will see. Gad says, I watched 15 minutes of the new Thor movie. Couldn't continue, in my opinion. They tried too hard to be funny and lighthearted. Gad, give it another 15. I will agree. The first 15 minutes was a little abrasive in its attempt to find humor. But I think you will find, as you continue, that humor settles in and finds its balance. Tommy, I don't know about that. Not disagreeing. I just genuinely don't know. So, I finished up a draft of the official program for Free Training Day Northeast. Those of you who purchased VIP bundles will be getting a special edition of that, printed in color. Might be extra pages in there. I'm still not sure on that one. But the rest of you will be able to print out a black and white version. I'm thinking through the things that I've been working on and what I might share with you. Yeah, this is a week of catching up and putting things away outside, painting, all that good stuff. Good luck, Kat. Let me know what you think. And Liz says, woo, Free Training Day Northeast. Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. We're ready to share this. We're not ready to share this. I will say this, though. We recently onboarded another person on the team working on social media stuff. And we have agreed to trial for, I think, the first time ever, a 4th assistant. For those of you who don't know, these are folks who work in the Philippines, and they work very affordably. We could not do the things that we do without them. Shout out to Julius, who has been with us for 5 years working the podcast. He does such a great job. I am so happy to have him. We are so blessed. But there's a 4th person now. And if that goes the way I hope it goes, we're going to see some really cool stuff happen. And it says, I enjoyed the Netflix Marvel series much more than the Marvel movies. Not that I didn't enjoy the movies too, because to Jeremy's point, you had 10 episodes every season to build arcs and develop characters. Those shows really were put together brilliantly, particularly Daredevil. And with those characters, all 4 of them are so deeply flawed that you need that time. You need that, 7, 8 hours versus, 2 in a movie to see what's going on with them and how they develop. Melissa says, you said that woo so monotone it was a Dennis Woo. Woo! There we go. All right, everybody. I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a great day. I hope. Here's a mental exercise for you. What character from TV, film, books, etc. might you train as, right? If I was going to be Daredevil, how might I do a form? If I was going to be Thor, how might I spar? Probably not something you're going to do in front of other people. A little goofy, but I think could be pretty fun. And of course, I think there's some value in there. Understanding how different attributes give you different advantages and disadvantages is worth experimenting with, worth understanding. The faster you can assess, the better off you would be in any kind of competition or real world scenario. Good morning, Andy. All right. Remember, we do the show every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Those of you who have been holding it down on Twitch, I appreciate you. We're getting there. Really need like 2 more people because it needs to average 3, and 3 people watching for 85%, 95% doesn't get us to 3. So please, if a couple of you others can do that, I would really appreciate it. If you want to support us beyond that, you've got the code FIRSTCUP15. You've got the Patreon, and you've got the full list at the family page, whistlekick.com/family. If you're family, you should be checking out that page. I give you updates, and it's all the stuff you can do to help us in our mission to connect, educate, and entertain traditional martial artists worldwide. Have a great day. Shibashi. There we go. All right. I'm going to hit the button now. Take care, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.